All right, y'all, I'm getting it together. My apologies, my apologies. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I'm your melanated queen, your hostess, Lil Foxy, aka Seven Wonder. All right, y'all, I'm getting it together. My apologies, my apologies. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I'm your melanated queen, your hostess, Lil Foxy. Oh, I'm so distracted right now. But anyway, we're going to be exploring Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. I've talked about this on my prior episodes. I think this is a very good read and I want to share it with you all. So if you have not had a chance to go on to Amazon and get your copy, I have the digitalized copy. And so we're going to go over it. Okay. We're going to try to get through this and go ahead and I will share my screen and we'll get down to it, you all, and get into what's going on out here in this world. Yeah, please have patience with me. I got a whole lot of electronic devices around me. I'm trying to monitor everything and trying to make sure that I can be heard properly and that I am doing this correctly because I haven't used Zoom in a couple of weeks now. I've been using StreamYard, okay? But I like Zoom because I can actually share the screen the way that I need to share it to show you what I need to show you. All right, so with that being said, let me see if I can share this screen, y'all. All right, please be patient with me. Woo, y'all. Share screen options, let's see. All right, what we're gonna do, we're going to the iPhone. Okay, we got that together. We're gonna share the iPhone. All right, I'll go in here and get my settings together. All right, so I gotta go to screen mirror. Okay, here we go. Got that, go me. Oh gosh. All right, so with that, that's done. That's done. All right, boom, we got it. We got it. Where we going? Where we going? We're going to the we're going to the Kindle, y'all. I got to get back into my reading. Where's my Kindle? Here it is. There it is. We got the Nooks, the books, LibriVox, and Kindle. If you're not familiar with LibriVox, they actually do the digitalized reading for you, but it's very boring. And so a lot of people don't have inflection in their voice when they read. It's very monotone. So it'll just put you to sleep. So that's why I thought that maybe we'd do a live version of this. Okay. Go to Kindle. Boom, there you got it. Behold a Pale Horse, you all. All right, you got it pulled up. All right, Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. Bam, okay. And as you can see, this has a copyright of 1991 by Milton William Cooper, all rights reserved. All right, he said, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto him, to them, over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. The Holy Bible, King James. Okay, I don't subscribe to the King James version of the Holy Bible, so we can just skip past that. The ideas and conclusions expressed in this work are mine alone. It is possible that one or more conclusions may be wrong, but the purpose of the book is to convince you, the reader, that something is terribly wrong. It is my hope that this work will inspire you to begin an earnest search for the truth. Your conclusions may be different, but together, maybe we can build a better world, okay? And I'll go slowly here for those of you who care about reading all of this. It looks like some type of poem. I have not read this book. It's been about 4 years since I've read the book, but I did read it in like a day or two because it was very interesting. One basic truth can be used as a foundation for a mountain of lies. And if we dig down deep enough in the mountain of lies and bring out the truth to set it on top of the mountain of lies, the entire mountain of lies will crumble under the weight of that one truth. And there is nothing more devastating to a structure of lies than the revelation of the truth upon which the structure of lies was built, because the shock waves of the revelation of the truth reverberate and continue to reverberate throughout the earth for generations to follow, awakening even those people who had no desire to be awakened to the truth. Let me take a sip of water, you all. He dedicated this book to his children, Jenny, Tony, Jessica, and little Dorothy. And he said, I love you every moment of every day. What a way to leave a legacy for your children, you all. You might want to take notes on that. Acknowledgements. My deepest appreciation and warmest friendship is extended to all those wonderful people who have helped to make this book a reality. All right. And he gets into all of that. Now, I'm going to fast forward past a lot of this, but I will slow it down a little bit just so you can see what he's talking about. He talks about the Rothschilds. He talks about economics. He talks about programming, diversion, logistics, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and secret societies. So what did JC say? What did Jay-Z say? The secret societies. All we have is trust, something, something. All we have is us. So those things do exist. It's called the New World Order. This is what we see taking place with the COVID situation, because they're taking away your rights right before your eyes, and they're trying to implement the New World Order, you all. Okay. Secret Treaty of Verona, all of this, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, HR 4079, that's a declassified CIA document, if you ever wanted to check that out. Anti-drug abuse, 1988 HR, it's another declassified CIA document. Are the sheep ready to shear? All right. The secret government, you all. Treason in high places, a proposed constitutional model for the new states of America, protocols, okay? There's some very interesting stuff in here. And it says connection with the Satanic Church. Those things do exist, so let's not pretend that it does not. All right. Here's the foreword. I'm not going to read that, but I do think that the preface or the preface is important. There have been many related sequential coincidences all throughout my life, incidences that by themselves would have led nowhere. And I'm just going to make sure you can still hear me, y'all. Okay. Statistically, the odds against the same or a related sequence of events happening to one individual are astronomically high. It is these series of incidents that have convinced me that God has had a hand in my life. I do not believe in fate. I do not believe in accidents. I cannot and will not accept the theory that long sequences of unrelated accidents determine world events. It is inconceivable that those with power and wealth would not band together with a common bond, a common interest, and a long-range plan to decide and direct the future of the world. For those with the resources to do otherwise would be totally irresponsible. I know that I would be the first to organize a conspiracy to control the outcome of the future if I were such a person and a conspiracy did not yet exist. I would do it in an attempt to ensure the survival of the principles in which I believe, the survival of my family, my survival, and the survival of the human race, if for no other reason. So he's basically telling you that he feels that these principles are very important because he feels that the survival of himself, his family, and the human race is important. Now, apparently, these people that are implementing the CVID injection. Don't believe that. This is why they're trampling upon your rights. And this is why William Cooper wrote this book, okay? Because he foresaw something that would lead up to what we're seeing today. I believe, therefore, that a grand game of chess is being played on a level that we can barely imagine. And we are the pawns. Pawns are valuable and under certain circumstances and are frequently sacrificed to gain an advantage, okay? They're sacrificing you and your health and your lives to gain an advantage over you. Anyone who has studied military strategy is familiar with the concept of sacrifice. I'm going to sit back a little bit while I read this, and I'm going to get comfortable, y'all, because what you really need to pay attention to is the screen. Okay, now, anyone? Okay, those who have seriously studied history have probably discovered the real reason we go to war on a regularly scheduled basis. Before reading this book, I advise you to play at least 2 complete games of chess. All right? You must learn the rules they play by. He said they. You must realize objectively that some pieces are most valuable than others, and that the king is the most valuable of all. You cannot learn reality if you get caught up in the fantasy. It's not fair. People are caught up in the fantasy because people are too worried about celebrities. People are caught up in the fantasy because they're too worried about entertainment. So this is why chess is being played with you, and you are the pawns on the game board, and they're sacrificing you. And you're too busy because you don't want to pay attention to what's really important. You must come to know that the ultimate outcome of the game is the only thing that counts. You were lied to when you were told that it does not matter whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. Winning in the world of the elite is everything. Indeed, it is the only thing the power elite intend to win, okay? That's all they care about. So don't think they care about your lives when they try to push the injection on you, because he's telling you that they don't. My research has shown at this point that the future laid out for us may be just about impossible to change. I do not agree with the means by which the powerful few have chosen for us to reach the end. I do not agree that the end is where we should end at all. But unless we can wake the people from their sleep, nothing short of civil war will stop the planned outcome. I base that statement not on defeatism, but on the apathy of the majority of the American people. So basically, he's letting you know that most of the American people don't care. They're asleep. They're not paying attention, nor do they really have an interest to care at all, that they're trying to kill you. 25 years ago, I would have believed otherwise. But 25 years ago, I was also sound asleep. So he's letting you know he was also like some of you all. He was asleep as well. We have been taught lies. Reality is not at all what we perceive it to be. We cannot survive any longer by hanging on to the falsehoods of the past. Reality must be discerned at all costs if we are to be part of the future. Truth must prevail in all instances, no matter who it hurts or helps, if we are to continue to live upon this earth. At this point, what we want may no longer matter. It is what we must do to ensure our survival that counts. The old way is in the certain process of destruction, and a new world order is beating down the door. Okay? I don't know how much more clear he can put that for you. I don't know how much clearer he can say that for you. While you all are worried about celebrity gossip and NFL games and NBA games and rappers and entertainers and sports and athletes and politicians and the agendas of everyone else, you need to be worried about your own lives, okay? And what this government is implementing for you. To cling to the past is guaranteed suicide. To remain apathetic is assured enslavement. To learn the truth and then act on it To learn on the truth. I'm sorry, I had got a text message. To learn on the, to lean, or to learn the truth and then to act on it is the only means of survival at this moment. To shrug off the information contained in this book and to disregard its warning will result in the complete destruction of the Republic of the United States of America. You will never get a second warning or a second chance, like it or not. This is stark reality. You can no longer turn your head, ignore it, pretend it's not true, say it can't happen to me, run or hide. The wolf is at the door. You all hold on for 1 second. Let me respond back to this text. And while I respond back to the text, let me play a little music for you, a little brief intermission while I do this. Okay. So hopefully you can hear this. All right, you all. We're going to get back to it. All right, we're going to get back to it now. Thank you for your patience. All right. So basically, he's telling you, do not rely on the past. He's telling you, you will never get a second warning or a second chance. You can no longer turn your head, ignore it, pretend it's not true. It can't happen to me, run or hide. The wolf is at the door. I fear for the little ones, the innocents who are already paying for our mistakes. There exists a great army of occupationally orphaned children. They are attending government-controlled daycare centers and latchkey kids who are running wild in the streets, and the lopsided, emotionally wounded children of single welfare mothers born only for the sake of more money in the monthly check. So you all, he's basically relating to a lot of what we see and what we hear in the society. And people continue to ignore it because they want to worry about celebrities and entertainers, but they want to escape their real lives, okay? So this is what he says. Open your eyes and look at them, for they are the future. In them, I see the sure and certain destruction of this once proud nation. In their vacant eyes, I see the death of freedom. They carry with them a great emptiness, and someone will surely pay a great price for their suffering. So what he's saying is a lot of the youth are walking around sleep, dead, void of energy, void of life. They are suffering because of what the earlier generation did not do to prepare for them. If we do not act in concert, and basically he's saying if we don't unify with each other and ensure that the future becomes what we need it to be, then we will surely deserve whatever fate awaits us. And so, and I'm adding this part in. So sometimes I'm going to interject and just make my own interpretation of it. But basically all this silly bickering about these rappers, who's battling who dissed who's beefing, this is stupid. It's all a distraction that was basically orchestrated on purpose to keep you away from what's really going on in front of your face, the truth. I believe with all my heart that God put me in places and in positions throughout my life so that I will be able to deliver this warning to his people. I pray that I've been worthy and that I have done my job. And this is my creed. So he's just telling you about, what he believes, and that's fine. We don't need to get into his spiritual beliefs, because one thing we can agree upon is that most people believe that they want to live unless they commit suicide. Most people want a better life, even though they might not act like it or act upon it because they've given up on themselves. But if they had a choice, whether they wanted to live as a bum in the slums, or if they wanted to live basically in a more luxurious lifestyle and didn't have to work so hard for it, they probably would go for the luxury lifestyle. Well, a lot of people have given up on themselves. So let's continue on. This talks about the introduction. He tells about his life. I'm really not going to read most of this, because you can read this for yourself. He gives a history of like his grandparents, great grandparents. He talks about his father, his mother's family. He was born May 6, 1943, while he's a Taurus. He was reared in a military family. So his family comes from a military background. Okay. And you'll find that in most families, if you have a father or someone in your family was in the military, a lot of times the children or the son will also join the military as well. It says his daddy was in the Air Force, and it talks about that. Here's a picture, I guess, of someone, probably his father and mother, I'm assuming. All right. Now he gets into what went on when he was in the military, you all. This is the part that we want to hear about. I can remember the pilots gathered around the kitchen table talking about the planes and telling stories. Sometimes they discussed strange things called Foo Fighters or UFOs. When we were lucky, they got out of the projector and showed Kodachrome slides. That was a special treat. By the time I was 8 years old, I think I had already seen and been inside every plane the Air Force, which used to be the Army Air Force, had ever owned. I had flown in several. I had seen many of them crash and had friends who had lost their fathers. I remember one night in the Azores at Logos Field, we were at the base theater watching a movie when the projector ground to a stop. The lights came on and a plea was made for blood donors. We knew there had been a disaster. Everyone went outside and looked down the hill at the flight line. It was literally consumed in flames. We could see men on fire running through the night. A B-29 had crashed. I forget if it had been taking off or landing, but I will never forget the scenes that was spread before me on that night. No one went back to the movie, even though we had only seen half. I was 9 years old, but felt much older. I had seen many crashes, and I would see many more in the years to come, but I never saw anything that could ever compare to the wreckage, the fire, the devastation, or the loss of life caused by the crash of the B-29. We left the Azores a year later. As we climbed into the sky, I looked out of the plane window. I could see pieces of the wreckage where it had been pushed away from the runways. It was that incident that gave me an appreciation of the dangers that my dad faced on a daily basis. I knew then how lucky we were to see him walk in the door. Aviation wasn't safe in those days, especially for military pilots. We all knew families who had lost someone in a crash. I didn't always love my father. He was a strict disciplinarian. My dad did not believe in spare the rod, and his belt was put to use frequently in our family. I was a very sensitive but willful child. Rules didn't mean much to me until I got caught breaking them. Many times I was the focus of his anger. Like most kids, I didn't understand. I thought he was a tyrant. Now I appreciate his upbringing. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that without his strict discipline, we most probably would have turned out bad. Now I love my dad. He's my friend. He is an independent, gregarious, feisty, tough, confident, adventurous, sometimes overbearing, handsome, big bear of a man. My mother told me that she fell in love with him because he looks like John Wayne, and he does. I have watched him progress from one who disdains any public show of affection to a man who is just as likely to hug you as shake your hand. On the other side, he has at times made me so angry that I could have punched him in the mouth, but I never have. It's damn hard for anyone not to like him. He is always up to some mischief, and I can guarantee you that no one is ever bored around my father. And he says his mother is a real Southern lady. So let's continue on, you all. He has a brother named Ronnie. He talks about Ronnie and his wife. All right, Connie. All right. I remember reading, I read through all of this. I'm not going to read this here. Okay. Now this gets into when he first joined you all. So let's go back. All right, so he says, I graduated in 1961 from Yamato High School in Japan. That fall, I enlisted in the Air Force. I really wanted to go into the Navy, but I had always had a tendency toward car sickness and seasickness. So if you have been like on a ship and you will get seasick. But if you have a strong stomach, you can overcome it. I attended basic training, that is at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, and technical school for aircraft and missile hydraulics at Amarillo Air Force Base. He gives you a testament of his background and history there. He said, I saw real atomic bombs. I worked around them on a daily basis. Because of that, I had to wear a dosimeter just in case I was exposed to radiation. In those days, we were the elite of the Air Force and we knew it. I received a letter of commendation for my work. In due time, I was awarded the National Defense Medal and the Air Force Good Conduct Medal. All right. It was during this time that I met a couple of sergeants who kind of adopted me. They went to clubs together, ended up chasing women, drinking a lot of beer, da 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 da. Okay. What else here? All right, so let's read this one. On November 22nd, 1963, I was on duty as CQ, charge of quarters for the field maintenance squadron. Most of the men were out on the flight line working the barracks. Orderlies had been assigned their tasks. The first sergeant was gone somewhere and I was alone. I turned on the orderly room's TV to watch the live broadcast of the president's motorcade in Dallas. So this was during John F. K. Okay. I was not prepared for what I saw. I stared in disbelief as the events unfurled in front of my eyes. I knew that something had happened, but what? I had seen and heard the assassination, but my mind was not accepting it. I kept staring at the set to discover. Oh, sorry, you all, I had a text. All right. Slowly, the realization crept over me. A numbness spread up my arms and legs. I saw what had happened. The hair stood up on the back of my neck and a chill went down my spine. President Kennedy had been shot right in front of my eyes, you all. At that point, huge tears began to stream down my face, waves of emotion. Now, imagine this. He's equating this to like how y'all probably felt about Biggie, Tupac, Aaliyah, Nipsey. That was a big one. This is what he's equating that to. At the point, huge tears began to stream down my face. Waves of emotion rushed through my body. I felt that I had to do something. So I picked up the direct line to the command center. I choked back the tears. When the command duty officer answered, I told him that the president had just been shot in Dallas. There was a pause and he asked me, how do you know he has been shot? I told him that I had watched it on television and then hung up the phone. I was numb all over. A few minutes later, the command duty officer called back and ordered a red alert at DEFCON 2. Defense Condition 2 meant war was imminent. The roar of jet engines could already be heard as the alert crews taxied their planes towards the runway. I was scared as I ran from the barracks to barracks, routing out the night shift and those who had the day off. we had been told that we had about 15 minutes to launch all of our planes before the first atomic bomb would hit us in the event that the Russians launched an attack. You all, this had nothing to do with the Russians. If you do your research on JFK, that was an inside job done by one of your own very presidents that you had in office. Okay. There was a senior and a junior that took office. Okay. The senior was involved in the assassination of JFK. I didn't even lock up the orderly room. I just jumped in the first car I saw, rode to the SAC compound, and reported to my red alert duty station. Okay, we thought it had finally hit the fan. It was a great relief when the alert had ended. All right, in December of the same year, he joined the Navy. Okay, so I thought he had motion sickness, but it looks like he loved the ocean. He just wanted to be a sailor. Okay, seaside or not, he made up his mind to follow his dream. All right, well, that's nice. What else? What else happened here? You all, I'm just scanning over this so you can pay attention to the screen if you'd like. All right, so we're going to get into the fact that he's at seaside, you all, and he's witnessing something. So he's going to tell you what he saw. I was just lifting the binoculars off my chest when I saw it. The giant saucer shape plunged out of the clouds, tumbled, and pushing the water before it, opened up a hole in the ocean and disappeared from view. It was incredible. This time I had seen it with my naked eyes, and its size in comparison with the total view was nothing short of astounding. And Ensign Ball stood in shock, his binoculars in his hands, his mouth open. Geronimo yelled, "What the hey, did you guys see that?" Then Sigma Ball turned and looked right at me with the most incredulous look on his face, said in a low voice, "This had to happen on my watch." He turned quickly, pressing the override on the 1MC and yelled, "Captain to the bridge, captain to the bridge." As an afterthought, he pressed the switch again and yelled, "Somebody get a camera up here." The captain surged up the ladder with the quartermaster on his heels. Chief Quartermaster Quintero had the ship's 35 millimeter camera slung around his neck. The captain stood patiently while Ensign Ball tried to describe what he had seen. He glanced at us and we both nodded in affirmation. That was enough for the captain. He called sonar, who during the excitement had reported contact underwater at the same bearing. The captain announced into the 1MC, "This is the captain. I have the con." The reply came back instantly from the helm. "Aye, aye, sir." I knew that the helmsman was passing the word in the control room that the captain had personally taken control of the boat. I also knew that rumors were probably flying through the vessel. The captain called down and ordered someone to closely monitor the radar. His command was instantly acknowledged. As the five of us stood gazing out over the sea, the same ship, or one exactly like it, rose slowly, turned in the air, tilted at an angle, and then vanished. I saw the chief snapping pictures out of the corner of my eye. This time I had three images from which to draw conclusions. It was a metal machine. Of that, there was no doubt whatsoever. It was intelligently controlled. Of that, I was equally sure. It was a dull color, kind of like pewter. There were no lights, there was no glow. I thought I had seen a row of what looked like portholes, but I could not be certain. Radar reported contact at the same bearing and gave us a range of 3 nautical miles. The range was right on as the craft had moved toward the general direction that we were headed. We watched repeatedly as the strange craft re-entered the water and then subsequently rose into the clouds over and over again until finally we knew that it was gone for good. The episode lasted about 10 minutes. Before leaving the bridge, the captain took the camera from the chief and instructed each of us not to talk to anyone about what we had seen. He told us the incident was classified and we were not to discuss it. And even among ourselves, we acknowledged his order. The captain and the chief left the bridge. Ensign Ball stepped to the 1MC and pressing the override switch denounced, "This is Ensign Ball. The captain has left the bridge. I have the con." The reply, "Aye, aye, sir," quickly followed. Those of us who had witnessed the UFO were not allowed to go ashore after we had berthed in Pearl. Even those of us who didn't have the duty were told we had to stay aboard. After about 2 hours, a commander from the Office of Naval Intelligence boarded. He went directly to the captain's stateroom. It wasn't long before we were called to wait in the passageway outside the captain's door. Ensign Ball was called first. After about 10 minutes, he came out and went into the wardroom. He looked shaken. I was next. When I entered the stateroom, the commander was holding my service record in his hands. He wanted to know why I had gone from the Air Force into the Navy. I told him the whole story and he laughed when I said that after putting off the Navy for fear of chronic seasickness, I hadn't been sick yet. Suddenly a mask dropped over his face and looking me directly in the eyes, he asked, "What did you see out there?" "I believe it was a flying saucer, sir," I answered. The man began to visibly shake and he screamed obscenities at me. He threatened to put me in the brig for the rest of my life. I thought he wasn't going to stop yelling, but as suddenly as he began, he stopped. I was confused. I had answered his question truthfully, yet I was threatened with prison. I was not afraid, but I was not very confident either. I figured I had better take another tack. 18 years with my father and 4 years in the Air Force had taught me something. Number one was that officers just do not lose control like that ever. Number two was that if my answer had elicited that explosion, then the next thing out of my mouth had better be something entirely different. Number three was that his response had been an act of kindness to get me to arrive at exactly that conclusion. "Let's start all over again," he said. "What did you see out there?" "Nothing, sir," I answered. "I didn't see a damn thing, and I'd like to get out of here just as soon as possible." A smile spread over his face, and the captain looked relieved. "Are you sure, Cooper?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I replied. "I'm sure." "You're a good sailor, Cooper," he said. "The Navy needs men like you. You'll go far with the Navy." He then asked me to read several pieces of paper that all said the same thing, only with different words. I read that if I ever talked about what it was that I didn't see, I could be fined up to $10,000 and imprisoned for up to 10 years or both. In addition, I could lose all pay and allowances due or ever to become due. He asked me to sign a piece of paper stating that I understand the laws and regulations that I had just read governing the safeguard of classified information relating to the national security. By signing, I agreed never to communicate in any manner any information regarding the incident with anyone. I was dismissed, and boy, was I glad to get out of there. Not long after that incident, I de-volunteered from submarines. I was transferred to the USS Tim Tim Bigby, Tom Bigby. Okay. So then he goes into talking about that, you all. So this is just a brief synopsis into William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. It basically demonstrates and orchestrates how the government holds secrets, classified information from the citizens. And they don't want you to know, but I know plenty of you out there are familiar with this knowledge already. And his book it's more interesting and gets deeper than this, you all. All right, so let me, I should have actually gone through and highlighted the places that I wanted to review, but I'm combing through right now to see if there's anything else I wish to share at this particular point in time. It talks about he went to Vietnam. All right, the military holds a lot of secrets, you all. All right, so while I do this, let me just play a little bit of music for you until I get to a place that I can pick up from again. All right, you all, the intermission is over. The whole time that I was in Vietnam, and especially on the DMZ, I had noticed that there was a lot of UFO activity. We had individual 24-hour crypto code sheets that we used to encode messages. But because of the danger that one of them could be captured at any time, we used special code words for sensitive information of UFOs. Make sure y'all can hear me. All right, so it sounds like you all can still hear me. All right, rumors floated around that UFOs had kidnapped and mutilated two Army soldiers, then dropped them in the bush. I learned that both sides, listen, okay, let me go back, you all. Let me go back. The whole time that I was in Vietnam, and especially on the DMZ, I had noticed that there was a lot of UFO activity. We had individual 24-hour crypto code sheets that we used to encode messages. But because of the danger that one of them could be captured at any time, we used special code words for sensitive information. UFOs, I was told, were definitely sensitive information. I learned exactly how sensitive when all the people of an entire village disappeared after UFOs were seen hovering above their huts. So a lot of times these missing people that come up missing can be abducted, you all, by UFOs. Okay. All right. So the UFOs were seen hovering above their huts and these people disappeared. I learned that both sides had fired on the UFOs and they had blasted back with a mysterious blue light. You all remember Men in Black? They're just not making this stuff up. They get this from somewhere. All right. Rumors floated around that UFOs had kidnapped and mutilated two Army soldiers, then dropped them in the bush. No one knew how much of this was true, but the fact that the rumors persisted made me tend to think that there was at least some truth in them. I found out later that most of those rumors were true. This is why they always try to classify people as conspiracy theorists that talk about this type of stuff, because they don't want you to believe that this is true. I eventually found myself back in Hawaii. This time it was shore duty at the headquarters of the commander-in-chief of the Pacific Fleet at Makalapa, a hill above Pearl Harbor. You all hear about Pearl Harbor a lot. It's referenced a whole lot, you all. All right. Now I'm just going to skip past here. On the day that I learned that the Office of Naval Intelligence had participated, listen to this again. On the day that I learned that the Office of Naval Intelligence had participated in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and that it was the Secret Service agent driving the limo that had shot Kennedy in the head, I went AWOL with no intention of ever returning. Let me read that again, because in case you think the government cares about you so much that they want you to take this injection, they don't even care about the president of the United States so much to the point that they will elicit and use the forces of the Naval Intelligence and Secret Service to have him assassinated if he does not go along with their agenda. These people are brutal and they are not playing with you. On the day that I learned that the Office of Naval Intelligence had participated in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and that it was the Secret Service agent driving the limo that had shot Kennedy in the head, I went AWOL with no intention of ever returning. You all, there's a whole 3-hour video. Check out my TrueTube page. And it basically is a documentary that shows you how this took place. That person driving the limo turned around and they slowed it down and shot him in the head. They tried to make you think that this was done by a sniper. It was not. This is why John F. Kennedy's wife got scared and tried to climb to the back seat. She was scared. This man had a gun and shot her husband in the head in front of her. All right, let's continue. My good friend Bob Swan is the one who talked me into going back later on June 1st, 1972, the eve of my wedding. I told Bob everything that I knew about the UFOs, Kennedy's assassination, the Navy, the secret government, the coming Ice Age, Alternatives 1, 2, and 3, Project Galileo, and the plan for the New World Order. I believed it was all true then, and I believe it is all true now. I must warn you, however, that I have found evidence that the secret societies were planning as far back as 1917 to invent an artificial threat from outer space in order to bring humanity together in a one world government that they call the New World Order. I am still searching for the truth. I firmly believe that this book is closer to the truth than anything ever previously written. I attempted to leak information to a reporter after my discharge. I was forced off of a cliff by a black limo in the hills of Oakland. 2 men got out and climbed down to where I lay, covered in blood. One bent down and felt for my carotid pulse. The other asked if I was dead. The nearest man said, "No, but he will be." The other replied, "Good, then we don't need to do anything else." They climbed up and drove off. I succeeded in climbing up the bank where I waited until I was found. A month later, I was forced into another accident by the same limo. This time I lost my leg. 2 men visited me in the hospital. They only wanted to know if I would shut up or if the next time should be final. I told them that I would be a very good little boy and that they didn't need worry about me anymore. Under my breath, I swore to spill the beans as soon as I could figure out how to do it without getting hurt again. It took 16 years, $27,000, a computer, and a lot of envelopes. But now everyone knows. I went back to school after leaving the Navy and obtained a degree in photography, served as the chief instructor of the Coastal School of Deep Sea Diving, the head of the Mixed Gas Deep Saturation Diving Department, and the underwater photography instructor for the College of Oceaneering, admissions representative for Airco Technical Institute, assistant director of Adelphi Business College, executive director of Adelphi Business College, national marketing coordinator of United Education and Software, executive director of Pacific Coast Technical Institute, and executive director of National Technical College. I also owned and operated Absolute Image Gallery and Studio of Fine Art Photography. In the spring of 1988, I saw a magazine that made reference to a document discovered by the research team of Moore, Sean Dara, and Friedman that outlined the government's knowledge of a down saucer, dead alien bodies, and an operation called Operation Majestic 12. I knew that Moore and Freeman were government agents, and the document was a fraud. I had never heard of Shandera. I knew this because I had seen a list of agents who were to initiate a contingency plan called Majestic that would lead investigators off the track when such a need arose. I decided that it was time for me to enter the arena and expose the cover up and the disinformation. First, it was necessary to convince the known agents that I was just a cook who didn't really know anything. I prepared some bogus information, mixed it with some true information, and passed it to Moore and Freeman through Jim Speezer, the operator of a computer BBS network called Paranet. Speezer was told that the information was to go only to Moore or Freeman. No one else was to see it. I wanted to buy time by convincing these agents to report me to their case officers as harmless, thus allowing me to get the real information out to the public. None of that information was intended to go to the public. Speezer turned out to be working with Moore, however, and posted the files on the computer networks. Speezer then went to Los Angeles, conferred with Moore for 3 days, and returned and then barred me from the Paranet system. So you see, whomever he was working with, basically they were informants. And we see that a lot with these agents in the music industry that you all like to idolize and worship. They're FBI and CIA agents, you all. Friedman called and elicited my address, the name and address of my employer, and a lot of other personal information. I knew that I was being checked out through the intelligence network and played along. About 1 week after talking to Friedman, 2 defense investigative service agents showed up at my home and confiscated all my floppy disks. So back then, you all, for those of you who are not aware of what floppy disks are, because this is taking it way back. It's like a USB drive that we have today. A floppy disk was like a big square disk that you put in your computer that held information, but now they have USB drives or flash drives, if you will. Okay, so they took his information. The only thing that prevented me from taking my computer was the fact that it was an XT with no hard drive. I knew that my plan had worked because they did not take me. With the help of Annie and a few very close and trusted friends, I prepared the real information. So he's playing chess with these people, y'all. As true and correct as I could remember. And together we did a mailing that all total cost me $27,000. We sent the packages to people all over the world. That is what prevented the government from arresting me or harming me. Any move by them would be interpreted as total confirmation of everything that I had revealed. I also uploaded the information onto computer bulletin boards all across the nation. At the same time, I publicly stated that Moore, Shandera, and Friedman were government agents and that the Eisenhower briefing document is a fraud. I was attacked by everyone. They insisted that Moore, Shandera, and Friedman were above reproach. And you see this going a lot with people. They all like to turn their backs on the people that are telling the truth. I resigned effective April 15th, 1989, from the college where I was the executive director after James Shandera was seen poking around the grounds. The story is included later in this book. The loss of income was a serious blow. Stan Barrington, the head of the college secretary department, came to our aid. Stan gave us $5,000 to help out. I was deeply moved by his faith and trust in me, and I gave him 24% of whatever was to come out of my efforts down the line. Neither of us ever expected much, and so far we have not been wrong. I have, however, paid Stan back his money, and now whatever he earns is extra. Stan is in charge of printing information and the sale of my papers and tapes. Stan Barrington is my only authorized representative. Moore was approved to be an agent when, by his own admission on July 1st, 1989, never mind. He stated he had participated in spying on fellow researchers, had changed documents, had put out disinformation, and had helped run a scam on Paul Binowitz. that had resulted in Mr. Benowitz being confined to a mental institution. Moore stated that he had been recruited by an intelligence agency and that he knew he had been recruited. He was a witting agent. No one acknowledged that I had been right. From the point on, my Annie and I were followed and harassed. Death threats began showing up on our answering machine. The phone would ring several times during the night, but no one would reply when we answered. Sometimes a man would deliver another death threat. Government cars would park in front and well-dressed men watched the house. The strangest people begin to show up at our door, sometimes in the middle of the night. You all, this is like a form of gang stalking. If you're not familiar with that terminology, please look it up. Gang stalking is when they try to intimidate you no matter where you are, even at your own house. They do all types of things to their intimidating techniques and tactics here. Okay. So the strangest people will show up at the door sometimes in the middle of the night, just like young Pharaoh was trying to say the pizza delivery guy showed up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, I have seen people deliver pizza like up to 12:30 in the morning. One girl, she was out there delivering pizza around that time. I told her to be careful. So it's not uncommon because those sometimes they close the inside and then the delivery services are still going. But I think that's very dangerous. Let's continue, y'all. You all, the strangest people begin to show up at our door sometimes in the middle of the night. I purchased a 380 automatic for Annie and a 9mm for me. I taught Annie how to shoot, and she was not hesitant to kill anyone who attempts to harm me, her, or our little daughter. Okay, so he wrote this, and she will not hesitate. Good for her, y'all. And I would also tell all ladies who have children, especially if you are single mothers and you don't have anyone living with you, have firearms, know how to protect yourself, know how to use the gun. Don't be afraid of a gun. Even if your children are responsible enough, take them to the gun range so that they are well able to protect themselves as well. Because you just never know what could take place and what could happen. I know the guy from Mobb Deep, Prodigy, before they killed him, said that he used to take his 7-year-old to the gun range. Why was that? Because he wanted his 7-year-old to know how to defend themselves. And this is something that, you know, the Caucasian community does take part in. So why you people out here in the melanated community are, oh, I don't want my kids around guns. Well, guess what's going to happen? If they don't know how to properly use them, then it's going to be a problem. Annie and Pooh are the lights in my life. Okay, so he's talking about his daughter and his wife. Annie and I were married on July 4th, 1989. Pooh was born on May 30th, 1990. All right, so he talks about that. And there's a picture of them in front of the Christmas tree. All right, not saying that I believe in Christmas or the tree, but that's, you know, back then, this book was written in like 1993, I believe. All right, so let's continue on. We have been taken advantage of by every crooked con man, TV producer, script writer, author, and film flam expert that there is in this country. Let me read that again, because a lot of people act like they can't get it through their thick ass skull. We have been taken advantage of by every crooked con man, TV producer, script writer, author, and flim flam expert that there is in this country. I have learned that the TV and printed media reporters and producers that I have met are a pack of liars. They are not objective and don't give a damn about the truth. But so many of you idiots out here still believe in everything that you see on the TV screen. The only really open media left to the public is talk radio, and even talk radio won't discuss certain subjects. My material has been copied, changed, and even plagiarized. A lot of people have used my material to make money without my knowledge or permission. A Hollywood producer wanted to buy the exclusive rights to my story for $1. Bill Hamilton begged me to let him include my material in his book entitled Alien Magic. He pretended to be a friend and I let him. I asked for no money and he offered none. His entire book consists of other people's material. He now accuses me of stealing his information. Bill Hamilton turned out to be just another UFO flake. I have since learned that I am not the only person of whom he has taken advantage. The most damaging scam was perpetuated by two old has-been actors turned conmen named Michael Callen and Douglas Dean. I doubt seriously that you will remember either one. Callen was a regular in the cheapy teen beach blanket movies, and Dean never got beyond bit parts and chorus lines. I got involved with them when another actor named Bruce Reed called and asked if I would consent to meet with him and a friend who preferred to remain anonymous. I agreed that they could come to the house or we could talk on familiar turf. I was not eager to meet with someone I did not know, and especially with an anonymous person away from some familiar surroundings. Reed and friend showed up at my home, and the friend turned out to be Michael Callen. They told me that they had read my material and wanted to help. What a joke that statement turned out to be. They told me that they knew how to get me in front of millions of people where I could deliver my message. Callen was slick. He told me he was only interested in helping spread the information, but talked me into signing a 5-year management contract that gave him a full 20% of the gross of all of my earnings, no matter what the source. He swore that if he didn't show results within 6 months, he would tear up the contract. Let me see how much further we have in this. Okay. All right, so we're almost done and I'm going to end it in a minute. Okay, so I'll read these next paragraphs and then we'll stop there. And we'll continue this some other time. The first thing that Callen did was shaft his partner, Bruce Reed. He cut Reed out of the action to prevent me from finding out that he had done it only to get Reed's half of the 20%. Callen told me that Bruce was a drug dealer. Callen said that the public would find out eventually, and Reed's drug involvement would damage me. Everything Callen told me about Reed turned out to be a lie. Stan Barrington called me next, wanting to know why I was trying to dump him. I didn't know that what he was talking about. It turned out that Callen was trying to force Stan into giving up his 24% so that Callen could form a 50-50 partnership with me. I told Stan that I had no intention of dumping him. I told him that his 24% was his, that he could keep it, sell it, or give it away, and that he did not need my permission. Stan felt much better after that conversation and told Callen to go fly a kite. At that point, Callen had been working on me to get rid of Stan. I refused. I also told him that he had nothing invested and therefore did not warrant anything. His job was to manage according to our contract. Douglas Dean entered the picture at the January 1989 lecture. Now, the only reason I'm reading this part is to show y'all how shady and shysty these people are that surrounded him while he was trying to get this information out. So just understand the logistics of what goes on when you're trying to bring forth the truth to people. All right, let's continue on here. Douglas Dean entered the picture at the January 7, 1989 lecture that I gave at the Showboat Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Callen brought him to videotape the lecture so that we would have a tape to sell for thousands of people who pleaded with us to produce a tape. The agreement was that he would tape the event and the tapes would belong exclusively to me. In return, if the tapes turned out good, Dean would get a contract to produce future tapes. The tapes were terrible, and I told both Dean and Callen that I did not want tapes of that poor quality being sold to anyone. They did it anyway behind my back and began the process of stealing my master tapes from all of my other lectures. This sounds like what took place in the conscious, quote unquote, woke community, you all. Dr. Deborah Blair has many VHS tapes that are being placed on display on YouTube. So let's go ahead and continue. They did it anyway, okay? And they did it behind his back, all right. And begin the process of stealing his master tapes from all of his other lectures. At the same time, Callan drained all of the business accounts. He borrowed $1,400 from Stan to produce tapes and then kept the money and the tapes. A producer in Germany booked me to do a lecture in that country. To secure the agreement, he sent $3,000 to be used for 2 first-class tickets and as a guarantee that when I got there, I would not be canceled. The producer canceled when a German postal strike prevented him from advertising the event. Callan kept the man's $3,000. I did not find out about that until after I fired Callan. At my lecture in San Diego at the Whole Life Expo, I found out that Dean was selling tapes and asking people to make checks out to Need to Know Productions, a phony company. I immediately fired Dean. He had snakes around him, y'all. You know about this, what goes on in the entertainment industry. I informed Callan that we were to do more business with him. We were to do no more business with him whatsoever. I discovered that Callan was telling me that we were having tapes duplicated in Hollywood for $15 per tape at his home in Arizona. I asked Callan to return all of my master tapes for all of my lectures. He refused and I fired him. When I got rid of Callan, he had stolen everything we had. We were left literally penniless. He was in possession of all of our master tapes from all of my lectures. We were broke and homeless at that point. If it had not been for a few good friends in Minnesota, we would not have survived. We would be in the streets today. Callan and Dean continue to injure us by selling tapes from my lectures. We get nothing from those sales. They are the most despicable con men and thieves that you can imagine. I paid a visit to Dean's home one Saturday morning to ask him for my master tapes. He was not home, and after a polite conversation with his handyman, I returned to my home. A few days later, the sheriff's department called and asked me if I had been to Dean's home that same Saturday. I told him that I had. He asked me if I had tried to break in Dean's home, and I told him that I had not. He thanked me, and that was the end of it. I had no idea what it was all about until I was served with a restraining order. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It seems that Dean's guilty conscience had made him afraid that I would return. He slit his own tires, made a report to the sheriff that I had done it, and then procured a restraining order from the local courts. I have never been questioned or accused by the police or sheriff other than what I had already disclosed. I believe that their goal from the very beginning was to try and destroy my efforts at educating the American people. They damn near succeeded. Okay, now it goes into chapter 1, excerpts from Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Top secret information. I'm going to stop it there, you all. This has been interesting, okay? By yours truly, William Cooper. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Make sure you all can still hear me. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if we can find a quick clip of William Cooper so you can see who he is. Let's see. Wow, William Cooper. Oh, you all, I'm so distracted. I was looking at this. King World is live. Let's check it. Well, anyway, let me share my screen for a second. I've gotten distracted. How do I share my screen? More than meetings. I'm trying to get back to where I was. I don't know, they playing with me. Oh man. Okay. Okay. Um, just a second, you all. Oh man, I gotta get out of this. Anyway, I want you to see who William Cooper is, what he looks like. He's done lectures. You can look him up on YouTube. Um, I've watched a few of his lectures already. I would also suggest Phil Schneider is another good one. That's Phil. Last name is Schneider. I had started researching both of them back in like 2015, I believe. And Phil Schneider is very interesting. He has a lot of lectures that he has given. He ended up actually dead. And I think they tried to say he committed suicide, but how does someone strangle themselves? Okay, you all, this is a very interesting dynamic and an interesting journey. Oh, you know what? Let me turn the screen mirroring off. That's probably why. Okay, it's probably what's going on here. That's probably what the reason is why I can't share my screen with you all, because it's still connected to my phone. So hopefully, yeah, it's turned off now. Yeah, it's turned off now. So let me go back to Zoom. Let's go here, share sound. Hopefully this works out okay. All right, so if you can see my screen, this right here, this is William Cooper. And let me make sure you all can hear me okay. My apologies for the technical difficulties. I'm getting it together, you all. I'm getting my life together. All right, now it's kind of hard to find. It's kind of hard to find a lot of William Cooper's videos now, because they scrub the internet a lot from stuff that we had access to just a couple of years ago. But as you can see, these are some of the clips that are still on here that you can find. Alex Jones, exposed by William Cooper. Those two did not like each other. I remember Alex Jones was going off on him one day. And as you can see, you can actually listen to the entire audio version, audio clip right here. Like I said, it's very monotone, so it's hard for me to listen to audiobooks. I like to read books myself in my own voice because I can get a better interpretation of what I'm reading. Secret Societies by William Cooper. There you go. The Pale Horse Behind the Scenes. Here's one of his lectures. It's a 4-hour lecture, you all. I'm going to click on this and see if we can play a clip. See.
I think that's about all, so we might as well get started.
Another craft, what they call a cigar-shaped craft, above the test site here in just a few moments. So, when you hear people talking about secret weapons, when you see the stealth fighter unveiled, what they have behind it in the wings, that you too can also go see, by the way, in Nevada, if you have the money and the time to go out there and stand in the desert all night. If you look.
And as you can see, the footage isn't too good.
Do that.
Very blurry. I wonder if this is one of those tapes that he was referencing in his book and he didn't want the footage being shown. But nonetheless, that's William Cooper, you all. All right. Now this is so off topic, but I wanted to see what King World was talking about. So let's go. Let's go to his page, y'all. He said, young Pharaoh Tashike, the confrontation. Oh, shit. So let's see what's going on. You all, that was the end of William Cooper. Now we're getting into this.
It was face down, as you said, and it was doing that. How you see it doing that? You got eyes in the back. Pharaoh, this seemed like that you briefly, minutely have a recollection of something that did take place, but at one given time, you weren't, at the point where you just wanted to say when that did take place, but now you're trying to make us believe that you had some type of encounter on a motherfucking ship where you was laying face down, but you talking all this tough MMA stuff. You let Cody whoop your ass. You ain't been fighting no damn more. You go out in your garage and kick the damn bag and shit like this. But you don't do shit to the motherfucking alien. You didn't have shit to do to the motherfucker. Why you ain't do that to the motherfucking alien?
We just stopped talking about aliens.
I'm lost right now. Now if you all this shit you done said you was gonna blow stuff up, put 5K bounty. Why you ain't put no bounty on the motherfucking alien when the alien left? You should have put a bounty on the alien. You could have called bounty killer. Yeah, bounty killer would have went out of him. Yeah. Dog, the bounty hunter son, them, they out there and stuff carrying on out there in Hawaii where you say you want to go to. They track down folks and stuff. A lot of folks, bounty hunters, special agents. Go hunt and look for folks and stuff like that. Apprehend them. Why you didn't say you was gonna apprehend the motherfucking alien? That's the shit that I'm talking about right here.
All right, you all. He is a mess.
Could have been that told that. But
he is a freaking hot mess. Let me
what the fuck? Man, what the fuck?
Let me get out of Let me get out of that, y'all. Okay. Let me get out of that. And you all, this has been an episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I thank you so much for joining me. I thank you so much for watching. I thank you so much for listening. The next time I come over here, I will, we'll talk about some things. I just thought that Behold a Pale Horse was interesting since it's very popular. A lot of people say that they want to read it. A lot of people have already read it. Sometimes it's just good to refresh your mind. And I look forward to reviewing some other books that I have. The Dr. Layla Africa book, What is Melanin? What Makes Black People Black? You see that I got the Bobby Brown book on the shelf. I have Shira Seven's book, I Bring Nothing to the Table. Okay, she has another one, I think it's called Too Pretty to Pay Bills. And shout out to her for, helping these ladies out here to uphold their worth and their value, because it should be that the man is the provider and the protector. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to sign off, and I want to say Auf Wiedersehen, you all. Haben Sie alles einen guten Nacht. That means goodbye. I hope you all have a good night. Until next time, I want to send a shout out to my beauties, my melanated beauties, my beauty queens, all of the melanated queens out there, all the melanated kings, the real warriors. Stand up for these queens. Thank you so much for uplifting us in our divinity. Shout out to all the princes and princesses. Continue to walk in your divinity. Stay intelligent, stay abreast with the information. Knowledge is power. Unification is everything. And you all just stay winning. Hashtag no days off. Celebrate yourself, all those good things. And I will see you next time. You all stay blessed.